Make sure it's not a cult. Hello, Haseo, I'm Lee and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about church in Korea and the differences between Western church and Korean church as experienced by someone who has done both. So if you're coming to South Korea, there are so many things to know about the country, one of which is religion. Korea is 28% Christian if you combine Catholics and Protestant. So I'm here to tell you my top, completely arbitrary differences between Korean and Western church. Let's get into it. Number one thing I would notice about Korean church is the time commitment. It's not an in and out experience. In the States, maybe if you wanted to attend a church service, you could just go and listen and kind of come back. In Korea, not so much. In non-pandemic times, there will be lunch after, coffee after, small groups. You will be connected with other people. Korean church is not an in and out experience. It is a time investment. A spin-off of that, there are services all the time. Morning services, afternoon service for the young adults, Sunday night worship. Did you miss Sunday entirely? There's Wednesday, Friday, dawn prayer. Don't be surprised when you get invited to extra services. There's a lot of them. A further caution if you do get involved in Korean church, this services all the time and the social aspect can lead to burnout. I have seen church burnout in my Korean friends and also in Western friends. I had one Western friend who got involved in church leadership and was basically at church from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at night. It might have been longer. Biggest advice to you is if you do find an amazing home church, limit yourself to 2 activities beyond attending service. 2 things maximum, okay? How many? 2. If your faith is important to you, it's also important that you protect your time and your energy. So please attend church responsibly. Another cute culture note is the decoration. When I first came to Korea, I saw these pulsing neon red crosses everywhere. And at night, that was how you could find a church. Coming from the American South, when I see red neon, I think like a bar or a club. It has those casino vibes. It's just part of how the church is shown to the world. 2 things you must know about the differences in Korean prayer culture. One is dawn prayer. In Korea, there is dawn prayer every day, every single day, 5 a.m. prayer. You will probably not experience pressure to join in at dawn prayer, but be aware that if you do, you'll probably experience pressure to continue it. Second biggest one is shouting prayer. In non-pandemic times, shouting prayer is very common in Korean churches. It will be prayer time at the end of church, and then everyone will start yelling God's name. And that can be very shocking your first time. Currently, during the pandemic, shouting prayer is not allowed, but if you come and see us during healthier times, you may get to experience shouting prayer. And music. One lovely thing about the music is that it's heavily influenced from English worship. Whether your Korean church leans more toward the old hymns, 찬송합시다, or more toward contemporary worship, 주의 사랑 노래하리라. About 75% of the songs will have been English originally. Sometimes I just slide back and forth between languages, like 무덤에서 일어나 하늘로 올리시네, Lord, I lift your name on high. Second note to the music, the clapping, guys. The clapping. You know how if it's a 4-beat song, you kind of clap on the 2 and the 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Glory to his name. Right, you know, gives the song a little rhythm, and you could move back and forth if you wanted to in the choir. You could potentially dance if you were from a denomination that dances. In Korean church, you're gonna find the opposite. You're gonna find people clapping on the 1 and the 3. Not sometimes, the majority of people. Like, I can't even do it. 찬송합시다, 찬송합시다. I have some friends in the church praise band who have a workaround for this system by just clapping on every beat. 찬송합시다. If it works for you. Another key thing to remember about church in Korea is conservatism. By almost any standards, Korea is a politically and religiously conservative country. Whatever you think of as conservative and liberal, Remove the liberal part, move the conservative over, and replace it with an even more conservative conservatism. And then you've got it. So just as a note, if you felt very comfortable and welcome in conservative churches in America, you will probably also be comfortable here. If you consider yourself to be a liberal believer, it might be very difficult for you to find a liberal Christian church in Korea. Oh, everyone, if you find this cultural topic informative, will you click the like button for me so YouTube knows to share it with more people? Now we come to the big one. Cults. Make sure it's not a cult. Are you absolutely sure it's not a cult? Check again, please. I'll wait for it. Did you check? So why the warning about cults? In Korea, we have an astonishingly high percentage of cults. They are very active in recruiting foreigners. They are very clever in disguising themselves as regular churches. One thing to look out for is if you have to take an aptitude test to unlock the next level of Bible study, if they encourage you to keep their meetings a secret, if they attempt to distance you from any of your friends and family, get out immediately. It is a cult. One of the most popular cults in Korea is Shincheonji, and they have been connected to super spreader virus events in Korea. Also, I don't know if you would consider these cults. There is a huge Mormon and Jehovah's Witness presence in Korea as well. You will likely get letters or packages or Facebook DMs from these people, so just be aware of that. That's a thing that happens. I would like to add a few reasons why you should try a Korean church, even with all of the differences. The family element. When I went to buy a used car, one of my church brothers went with me because it wasn't something I could do alone. When I do volunteer activities, my church sisters help me with that. It's so good in Korea if you can find yourself a part of a community and a family. I think there are a few places that are better to find that kind of support than church. Another reason is the culture. You're going to be getting a particular aspect of Korean culture, and I think it would be fun to experience it directly. And last of all, Korean church is kind of fresh. For me personally, I've been a Christian my whole life. I accepted Jesus as a small child. So I'm overly used to everything, maybe take things for granted. Praising God in Korean is a beautiful experience. Because it's my second language, I have to think about it more. So today in this video, I've shared with you several key cultural differences between church in the West and church in Korea, and also some important tips for a happy church life in Korea. Make sure it's not a cult. Please tell me in the comments, everybody, what is the biggest difference between Western and Korean church in your view? And what has been your experience of church in Korea? So if you found this video informative, will you please share it with a friend to support the channel? Thank you so much, everybody. 믿음의 눈 들어